What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to talk about Waymo's new self-driving service, Waymo One, which is officially launched. Robo-taxis have arrived, sort of. So let's talk about it. Waymo, up until now, had been touting the release of a service to the public, a robotic taxi service that would be fully autonomous minivans driving around the Phoenix area that would be launching sometime in 2018. Well, now here we are in early December, and Waymo has finally announced this product, Waymo One, but it's come with a ton of caveats. So not only did they push this out at the very end of the year, but unlike what they were originally planning, Waymo One service is going to require you to actually have a driver in the car. So it's going to work very much so like Uber or Lyft. You know, they have this really cool seamless app. You type in where you want to go, and then the car will come and pick you up and drop you off. But once again, it's not even a fully autonomous taxi ride. They're still going to have these safety drivers in the front seat sitting there the whole time in the car with the ride. This wasn't originally planned and sort of makes it seem a lot less cool than originally anticipated. Also, the service is still only available to those early adopters, and they're planning on slowly scaling it out to more and more people. So I even tried to download the app myself in the App Store, but it wasn't available. Additionally, the other big caveat here is this is only available in a very, very small section of the Phoenix metropolitan area. So it's not like you could just go in any major city and get this autonomous robo taxi, or even anywhere in the Phoenix area. You have to be confined to this limited geographic space where Waymo's cars have been testing. So I think it's awesome that Waymo has done this, but I also wanted to highlight, this underscores the difficulty of the self-driving problem and how it's so much harder than we all sort of originally thought and anticipated, maybe a year or two ago, when I felt like the hype around self-driving cars was huge. We were talking about the Tesla network, Uber was getting into self-driving, Waymo was about to launch. There was so much buzz and excitement, and I think a lot of that has been more hype than reality, and that's really showing with Waymo's launch here, because they're taking a super cautious approach. I mean, it's hilarious to watch. If you go watch the Waymo One launch video, like, you can see all these shots of where like the wheels turning itself, but then if you look closely, there's like the shoulder of the Waymo person, safety driver, in the front seat. From a business perspective, I mean, Waymo is totally a first mover here in offering this, and I think eventually they'll be able to get these drivers out of the cars, make it a fully autonomous taxi service, which will be awesome. But on the flip side here, this is a huge cost sink for Waymo, because unlike Tesla's approach, which uses just cameras around its cars, Waymo is actually installing a massive amount of LiDAR on top of its minivan. So if you look at the Waymo car, you'll see all these huge sensors, poking out of it on top of the car, etc. And those are to help it navigate the roads and be fully self-driving. But the problem is all of that equipment and LiDAR costs tens and tens of thousands of dollars on top of the cost of the vehicle. So when you think about the cost equation of what Waymo One service is doing, first of all, they still have the driver in there, and they got to pay him to be sitting in the car. They still have the cost of the car, and they have the cost of all these sensors. So they're actually at a huge cost disadvantage relative to Lyft or Uber. Both companies that, as far as I can tell, are actually losing money. And so Waymo, according to this article I was reading, I think by Ars Technica, they did a test, and Waymo was charging something like seven something dollars for its ride, and they tested it with Uber and Lyft that were charging $8 and $9. So Waymo One is trying to slightly undercut Uber and Lyft with pricing, even though their cost structure is hugely more bloated. I mean, the margins on this are awful. There's no way they're even close to making money yet. And to really make this a profitable business, they need to get rid of the drivers out of the front seat, and they need to have these cars being utilized a ton of the time, super high utilization rates, to be able to recoup the cost of all of these sensors. And so, seeing this launch and the video just made me sort of like bummed and disappointed, because I'd always been looking forward to this and was like, I'm going to fly to Phoenix the day this comes out, do a ride in the self-driving taxi, like just be a part of the future. But now it's not even fully self-driving. There's a guy in the front seat. I can't even download the app. Now I'm actually really curious to see what Waymo is going to do with this, because I think they're realizing it's more difficult than they thought, and they're starting to lose so much money on every ride that what's their strategy here? I mean, do they want to scale this business in its current format? It's such a money loser. I mean, Google does have billions of dollars, a rock solid balance sheet, which is the reason why they're one of the few companies who could actually pull this off. We're at, years away, it looks like, from this even being a remotely profitable business for Google and the company. And so I have to think internally, if they keep pushing back this deadline of full autonomy and when it's actually going to be, more economical, how much give do they have? How many millions are they willing to spend? How long are they willing to wait before they actually give up on this? And, will we ever even hit a place of where they do have true general autonomy and the car doesn't need a driver or safety driver and it can go anywhere. Like, it seems like we're just so far away from that. So that's my biggest takeaway here is, although Waymo is technically a first mover, and I guess they're technically coming through on their promise to kind of launch a robot taxi service, I mean, it comes with so many like caveats that it just really doesn't count and underscores the difficulty of bringing a self-driving car to market and a truly autonomous robot taxi service. So yeah, pretty disappointed with the launch. But anyway, thought it was worth covering. I'm going to be tracking the progress of Waymo going forward. Going to be really interesting to see on Google's conference call if they talk in more detail about the launch here and their strategy. Anyway, would love to know what you think in the comments below. Are you in Phoenix? Have you ever ridden in one of these? Are you hyped? Are you disappointed? Put it in the comments. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. This is Hyperchange. Peace. Oh, one last thing that I forgot to mention is that this is the funniest part to me is that Waymo's entire service is they're actually using these Chrysler Pacifica minivans, which are hybrids, but they're not fully electric. They're still burning fossil fuels. So when I think about an autonomous ride-sharing taxi network of the future, I mean, it's got to be electric. It's got to be emission-free. I mean, Lyft is already offsetting all of its carbon emissions by buying carbon credits. And so, you know, these ride-sharing companies like Uber and Lyft are already pushing towards that sustainability electric future. But the problem is there's just not enough cheap, affordable electric cars to really fill out these networks. And Google is a perfect example of this. Even then, the leading autonomous taxi service is still running on fossil fuels. I think this is a huge Achilles heel. This is totally something they're going to have to get around in their business model. And this is a reason why I think Tesla is in such a much better position to really win the robot taxi race, because they own the hardware. They have the longest range, most efficient, you know, most reliable electric vehicles. And that is a huge key component to having a robot taxi service that works at scale, that's profitable. Anyway, signing off. This is Hyperchange. Peace.